For the past few weeks, we've heard quite a bit about why we, as a church, as United Methodists, and as individuals give. Why do we support the ministries and operations of our church? We know the church needs money to operate, but that's not the whole reason for our giving. We give because supporting the ministries allows us to invest ourselves in many different and fulfilling opportunities to love God through meaningful worship, serve people in many ways. We reach out to others at home and around the world, and transform lives as we share God's love within our community and beyond our walls. What will we do in 2015 to love God, serve people, and transform lives? Because the ministries and operations of our church do depend on our financial support in order to plan programs and activities, what we can do depends on what we do in terms of support. We each hold a part of our church family's opportunity and responsibility to keep these ministries and programs growing and thriving. As we greet a new year filled with opportunities, it's time to commit. Church leaders and staff are ready to initiate this year's programming. It's time for us to declare our intent as a church family. As the 2015 Stewardship campaign draws to a close this next week, if you haven't already done so, be sure to let us know that you want to be counted as one of our 2,500 member households who this year will say, some for the first time ever, yes, I want to do my part to support this church. The road to 100% participation in stewardship begins now, with each and every commitment, regardless of size. We'll build together toward a new goal and a new day of owning who we are and what we do as a church to love God, serve people, and transform lives. Listen with me now to a few members of our congregation who this year are saying yes. And as you listen to why they give, be open to the many ways giving to the ministries and operation of our church changes us.
Besides the fact that the Bible explicitly instructs us to give through tithing, there's another reason that motivates my family to give in this way. As Christians, we're called to be Jesus' hands and feet in our world. And our church has infrastructure and programming set up for doing just that. When we support that effort financially, we are doing our part in being Christ's hands and feet in our world. So I urge you to join my family in turning in your pledge cards and helping our church further God's kingdom. It is both our privilege and our responsibility to share our God-given gifts.
I give because it brings me joy, and it reminds me that God can do impossibly more than I could ever imagine.
We give our gifts to help support the wonderful programs that our church has to offer its members of all ages.
We give to First United Methodist Church because God blesses us every day.
So join us for giving to First United Methodist Church.
I see God at work throughout this church. I give to support and grow these ministries.
I give to the United Methodist Church because it's been a part of my life my entire life, and I grew up believing that you should give, and now I want to be that example for my children, so that as they grow in the United Methodist Church, they will learn to give also.
I started my spiritual journey at First Church approximately 20 years ago. I soon made a deliberate decision to become a disciple of Christ. This requires following the way. Therein, Jesus tells us to love our neighbors and to be generous to a fault. This logically starts with an annual sacrificial pledge to our home church. His will be done, not mine.
I give to the church because the church is what has transformed me, and I believe that all of us should give so we can continue to change people's lives.
We give because we know our gifts will benefit not only our church,
but our community and ministries around the world.
So join us in giving to First United Methodist Church,
where you get the most bang for your buck.
Hello, friends. It's my privilege to talk to you about your giving, about stewardship, about how you manage all that you are and all that you have for the sake of others and for your own sake as well, and for the sake of the larger community. It's the question really of why we give. Now, there are as many reasons for giving as there are givers. But as a community of faith, we have a particular reason for giving. And we capture that in our church's tagline: love God, serve people, transform lives. That's why we give. And when we think about what that means, we love God in our worship, we love God in our study, in our prayers, but we also love God when we serve people. And when we serve people, we transform lives. And when we transform lives, we transform the lives not only of people in our community and literally around the world, but our own lives as well. Jesus said, "Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." Our heart follows our treasure. Where we invest ourselves, where we invest our resources, our heart follows. And so the question is, where do we want our heart to go? And I think as a community of faith, we've been very clear that we want our heart to go to the places where we effectively love God and serve people, and where we transform lives as well. That's where we want our heart to go. Now this year, as we think about our giving, it's not just a numerical goal of a total dollar amount, but we're also thinking about participation. It is the question of where we are placing our treasure, where we want our heart to be, and how many of us are participating in that. Now, Susan and I have made our commitment. 100% of the staff has made its commitment. Most of the leadership of our church has done so as well. And now I'm asking you to make your commitment to the 2015 ministry and operating budget of the church. Because isn't that where you want your heart to be? Jesus said, "Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." Don't you want your heart to be in those places that love God, serve people, transform lives, and in so doing, your own life is transformed as well? Thanks for your time to let me visit with you about this, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday.